and the Braves, first of a three-game set as the Marlins take to the road. A road trip through Atlanta and Philadelphia, but it starts here in the Battery against the Atlanta Braves. Always fun to match up against this NL East rival, and some Marlins fans here too, young and old. It's a party atmosphere here at this two-year-old ballpark, SunTrust Park. Terrific atmosphere. And oh yeah, bloopers, trying to fool Starlin Castro, but you just can't do that. He's too smart. He's too smart inside the broadcast booth. Paul Severino and Todd Hollinsworth. Well, a couple of rough games against the Washington Nationals, but at the end of the day, they split the four-game series. That's how the homestand ended. So now they take to the road, but they've been playing very good baseball.
Yeah, and they've got a real good opportunity to finish up a great month of July. 12-11 record for the Marlins, playing some great baseball. The starting pitching's been good, certainly was over the last couple of ball games. They figured out their bullpen a little bit. Now it's time to take it on the road. Yeah, they got to come through Atlanta. Now, they haven't won yet in this ballpark, so a good opportunity to pick up their first hopeful series win here since this ballpark opened.
And Wei-Yin Chen gets a look at the Braves. Second consecutive start against Atlanta for him. Last time we saw him, he was sharp.
Oh, he's been fantastic. Now, of course, this start was at home. He's done a lot of things great at home this season, but he really used his fastball. His fastball command was key. Now, this Braves team, they handle lefties pretty well this season, but he has been on his game of late, and I expect another good one from him tonight.
Well, you mentioned the home-road splits. Home, very good. Road, maybe not so very good. But the 10.47 ERA, is there any sort of silver lining of that?
Well, there certainly is. Don't look at the 10.47. Just blink a lot. Maybe it'll go away. Well, you can't make it disappear, but one thing you know is that he has had a couple of decent road starts. One of them happens to be right here in late May.
So he tries to build on that as the Marlins try to get to Julio Teheran, something that they have done actually quite a bit in the last 9 starts.
Well, and the one thing that stands out against Teheran is that they've had big innings. 4 times already this season, they've had innings in which they've scored 2 or more runs, 3 home runs factoring into that as well. So against Teheran, the slugging percentage is the big conversation, but I expect the Marlins, who have been hitting pretty well on the road of late, to have a good approach tonight.
Bravos have been struggling as of late, so the Marlins hope to capitalize on that. Game 1 on the way from SunTrust Park after the break. Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet. See your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. Nice night here in Atlanta. For now, there's some dark clouds around. We hope to get this one in. First of a three-game set, Marlins and Braves. Let's take a look. First, at the Miami Marlins starting lineup. At the top of the lineup tonight, it is Derek Dietrich. The rest of the lineup presented to you by Southwest. Brian Anderson to JT Realmuto. He's hitting over 300 on the year. You see Starlin Castro back in the lineup after a day off. So we'll see if the Marlins can get to Julio Teheran the way that they have the last number of starts. Try to set the tone here tonight in this series and keep things rolling as we begin play here at SunTrust Park. Underway with the ball outside. We take a look at the numbers. 21st start of the year for Julio Teheran.
Well, it's been a complicated season for Teheran and the Braves. They're trying to figure out who he is. He's got moments where he's looked really, really good. You see the ERA sitting in that low 4 range. Now he's got 11 quality starts. The story kind of goes like this in the wins. Now the Braves have won 11 of his 20 starts. When he wins, his ERA is 2.84. When he loses, his ERA is 6.56. So that tells you when it's bad, it seems to be really bad, and when it's good, it's a lot of times really good.
Yeah, it's been an up and down season, really, whether it's against the Marlins, whether it's against anybody. For Julio Teheran, again, they've got certainly some other jewels in this starting rotation, most notably Sean Newcomb, who was a strike away from a no-hitter yesterday. 134 pitches, gave up a hit to Chris Taylor with 2 outs, 2 strikes on Taylor in the 9th inning. Braves ended up winning that game, something they haven't really done a whole heck of a lot of recently. A 3-1 pitch on the way to Derek Dietrich is tapped foul.
Well, you mentioned Newcomb. Just to let people know he has been great against the Marlins this year. He's got 3 wins. There you see him right there. And as you mentioned, that fantastic performance yesterday, the 1 hit ended up with an earned run because who came in after him ended up giving up a hit. And there you see the earned run. 8 Ks, used what, 90 fastballs, I heard. He was fantastic. Get this, 8-1 with a 1.84 ERA following a Braves loss this year.
He has been the stopper for this club. And that one is inside to Derek Dietrich, so the Marlins have their first base runner of the night. Another look at Newcomb again. The Marlins have seen plenty of this guy this season. I don't know if they've seen him this good.
Well, and he was dominant. It was just about moving the fastball around the strike zone, and Dodger hitters. By the way, the Dodgers have been playing great baseball, so they'd won the first 3 games of this series, and their offense had been rolling. So what he accomplished yesterday certainly was quite impressive. You see the hit. That's the one he gave up, and that's where it ended. 134 pitches. As I said, a 1.84 ERA following a team's loss. 12 of his starts this year have come after a Braves loss. He has been a stopper. Look at that outstanding season for the young man.
Of course, won't see Newcomb in this 3-game set, as that one misses outside. From Teheran to Brian Anderson, a ball and no strikes. Anderson yesterday 2 for 3, a couple of runs scored and a hit by pitch on the homestand against these very same Braves for a 2-game series, and then the Nationals for 4. He was 7 for 20 with 6 runs scored. Teheran's 1-0 misses outside. He's had a tough time finding the plate early on, albeit 8 pitches into the ball game, but a walk to Dietrich, and now 2-0 to Anderson.
Well, his strike throwing capabilities have really been down this year, down at 4%. That's actually quite significant. At 65% last year, and he had a pretty decent season this year, down at 61.2. We're already seeing it here in the first inning. Inability to throw strikes. Part of that could be his last start against the Marlins. It wasn't a good one. 4 1/3 innings, 7 earned runs. That was July 24th at Marlins Park.
And there for a called strike to BA. 2-1. Mentioned the 2 hits yesterday for Anderson. He's got 3 in his career against Julio Teheran, but just in terms of overall hits this season, Anderson is 7th in the National League. 2-1 is sent out to center field. It sends Inciarte back, way back, and that one is gone. A 2-run home run to dead center field for Brian Anderson.
I'll tell you what, I think there was a little splash behind the wall. Oh my. Teheran has not even thrown 10 complete innings against the Marlins this season. 4th home run he has surrendered. Brian Anderson 3 for 5 against Teheran, now 4 for 6. Watch this beautiful swing. And you see how badly he missed. Flowers looking for the ball, inner third, he misses outer third. Brian Anderson doesn't miss at all.
Kerplunk, 2-0 Marlins. Well, this is a type of center fielder, and standing around the cage today, Ender Inciarte, we've talked about it, we have certainly seen it. Anything with any air underneath it, he's going to get to it. The chatter around the cage today was either hit it on the ground, as that one will reach the seats, into center field, or hit it over the wall, and that's exactly what Anderson did. Inciarte runs out of real estate and an early lead for Miami.
Well, I'll tell you what, pretty impressive 2 batters in this ballpark. People have been talking about it over the last month or so, actually almost 2 months. No home runs. Not a whole lot of home runs have been hit here. Only half a home run a game. All right, let's take a look at the Braves defensively. Acuna gets the start in left, Inciarte in center, Markakis over in right, Camargo, Swanson, Albies, and Freeman, Flowers behind the plate. That's what everybody had been saying. Now, Teheran has been giving up home runs at an alarming pace. That's the 21st home run he's given up this year. 1.64 home runs per 9 innings. But SunTrust Park is not. Only 0.5 home runs. That's actually last in all of baseball. It's behind Marlins Park.
Not a bandbox.
Yeah, since June 8th.
And the 21st home run of the season given up by Teheran. Gave up 31 home runs last year, which was a career high. This one wide of the first base bag. That'll reach the seats. Still 1-2. Let's go back to the last time JT Realmuto faced Julio Teheran, and he got him.
Yeah, hanging slider out over the plate. Real nice swing. Left center field. Great approach. Now, sometimes it can be complicated. We talk about that, that third time through, not third time through the lineup, but facing a pitcher, I should say, a third time. The Marlins have owned him 2 times in a row, and I said to Frankie Medicino today, I said, can the boys do it again? Does the approach, how does the approach change? You've gone up against a guy now, and you've seen him a lot lately, and you've kind of knocked him around 2 times in a row. Do you change anything? Does anything just goes about your business the exact same way? Take your batting practice. Don't change your approach. If he makes an adjustment, then you make an adjustment.
Stays alive, and he taps that one foul. You mentioned the back-to-back starts against the same opponent. 9 times in Teheran's career he has done that, and he has fared well on the backside. Really, both times around, I guess, now as I kind of look at these numbers. 5-1, 3 ERA, 36 hits allowed first meeting, 3-3, 3.21 ERA. So the win-loss a little different, but the ERA still generally respectable. That's a career number. That's not right now where Teheran is. As he battles with whatever he is battling with. Consistency, I suppose. 2-2, dribbled foul. Battle wages on.
I'll tell you what it is with Teheran. I'm sure he'd probably tell you it's the Marlins. He's sick of them. Marlins have been a thorn in his side. He's 17 pitches into this ball game. He's already given up 2, and he doesn't even have an out.
Eighth pitch of the at-bat on the way. This one popped up middle of the diamond. It will be Albies to make the catch, and that's the first out.
There's the season numbers for Teheran. That's coming into today's ball game. You see the .350 batting average against. My goodness, and the slugging percentage even higher. Let's go ahead and get you the Auto Nation scouting report for tonight's ball game. Absolutely no love for the Marlins. We just showed it to you. Of the 14 hits, now 15 hits he's allowed, 7 have gone for extra bases, including 4 home runs, a triple, and 2 doubles. Now, the crooked numbers. We didn't even get through the scouting report yet. We've already got a crooked number here in the first inning. Marlins have scored in now 5 of 10-plus innings against Tehran, being crooked numbers. Here you go. So you go back to the first start, they had a 6-run fourth. Last start, a 2-run first, a 2-run third, and a 5-run fifth. Of course, tonight you got the 2-run first, and think fast. Here's the kicker. Of the 15 Marlins hits, 12 have come against the fastball. That's exactly what Anderson hit, a center cut fastball. They need to keep that up. Hitting over 500 against his fastball this season.
That one tipped at the plate by Justin Bour, 2-1. Fourth batter faced by Tehran tonight. He's gone 2-0 on the first, or 3 of the first 4. So he has been behind, and they have made it count, the home run by Anderson.
Well, what's any pitcher, just about any pitcher do? He tries to get ahead with the fastball, right? Uses the fastball to set up those secondary pitches. Tehran's no different. He likes to do that. Able to go atop the strike zone right there to get the swing from Bour. League average against him. This is pulling the Marlins out of this conversation. 228 against his sinker and his four-seam fastball. He doesn't throw hard, but he spots it generally pretty well. The Marlins, as I just said, hitting 520 against his fastball this year.
There's a play down the first base line by Freddie Freeman. He'll beat Bour to the bag, and there are 2 away. Sharply hit, but Freeman able to corral that one for out number 2. Freeman, the beneficiary of being a right-hand thrower, because his glove was right on the line and a ball hit pretty hard down the first base line, but 2 away.
Yeah, you always picked up the benefit on the ball down the line, but not the throw from the pitcher when you're holding a runner on.
Right.
That's what they used to always tell me. Oh, it's good to be a lefty. And I kept thinking, boy, I don't get down the line as far. I have to run faster.
Starlin Castro now, as he takes a called strike. Castro back in the lineup, got a rare day off yesterday. Was 4 for 17. 3 runs, a double, a home run, 3 RBIs on the homestand. In and out of Flowers' glove and ruled a ball, even though it looked like it may have gotten that bottom corner. Phil Cuzzy, the home plate umpire tonight, the crew chief. Jansen Visconti over at first. Dan Bellino is at second, and Adam Hamari, the umpire, at third. One grounded toward the Marlins dugout. Everybody out of the way there, thankfully.
We've seen with Tehran here in the first inning a number of misses. Part of that has been the problem. You see where Flowers sets up. He's not always getting the ball to the target.
That's where he wanted it, low and away. Castro goes and gets it for a 2-out single to center.
Now, but again, the idea of getting the ball to the target, you see where Flowers sets up. He wants that ball off the outside corner, and he is just a smidge, but it's not quite to the target. And I guess that's part of the point. I mean, he is so frustrated with this Marlins team. There's no doubt about it. Great piece of hitting by Starlin Castro, going down and driving it into center.
Another hit for Castro this year against the Braves. Now 9 for 38. And in steps a former Brave, Martin Prado. Fouls the first pitch back. Prado has been really swinging a hot bat recently. Can't hang on to it. It's so hot, actually. Hits in 6 of 7 games and 7 multi-hit games in his last 14.
Well, since returning from the disabled list, he's hitting .323 with 10 RBIs. You're absolutely right. He has been swinging a hot bat, very productive. A couple of hits yesterday and a nice homestand.
Numbers over his last 7. And it's been good to see. Don Mattingly talked about that the last couple of days, about how it's nice to see him back into a rhythm, being something of an anchor in this lineup every day, because before he went on the disabled list, it looked like he was finally starting to come around. Of course, got a late start this year. Took him a little while to get going. Looked like he was just about set to get rolling, get back to that Martin Prado that we've certainly come to know and love throughout the years, and then boom, right back on the DL. But he's picked up right where he left off, which certainly the Marlins will take it. Another couple of hits yesterday. Runner goes, throw to second is in time. Castro didn't seem to be in love with the call and was refusing to leave the second base bag. One more look. I got Albies with a whiff.
It's hard to tell. I'm trying to target that left elbow. Watch his left elbow. Yeah, he did. He's in. You're right. I think from the back angle, I couldn't tell if he touched his back left elbow.
Yeah, it looked like when Albies went up to make the catch and the tag all sort of in one motion, tried to tag him right around the belt area, right around the hip. I think he missed it, but
well, and the tag was finally applied, but Starlin was on his way up out of his slide. He'd already hit second base.
Well, now everybody's looking up at the big board here at SunTrust Park, and the oohs and ahs in the crowd.
Yeah, this is the angle. Well, this is the angle you want to see right here. He whiffs. You're right. Gets him eventually on the elbow, but he had already reached second base.
So the crew chief Phil Cuzzy, the second base umpire Dan Bellino, looking at this again. Of course, the call on the field was out, so there's got to be enough visual evidence to conclude that there was no tag applied to Castro, and this is taking a little longer than I would have suspected, but it is a close play. What's fascinating about this whole process is the umpires who are in the ballpark, in this case Cuzzy and Bellino, they can look at the big board and see 12 different angles, and really they have no input. And right now it's out of their hands. We have our answer. He is safe.
But you know what the umpires are really good about doing, Paul? You know, and I've noticed this over the last couple of years. So, you know, you put the headset on and it's out of your control. But every ballpark does this. We show you all the different angles.
Right.
They never play their hand. Like, if it were me, I'd be like, I would have dropped my head right there like, ah, oh, darn it, I missed it. Shoot. But you don't see it. They keep their composure, and they don't play their hand. They do a fantastic job of that. They don't give it away.
Fifth steal of the season for Castro gets him into scoring position. A ball and 2 strikes as the at-bat continues for Martin Prado. This one chopped to Camargo at third. He is up with it to make the out. So third out of the inning comes a couple of minutes later, but the first 2 runs come on one swing of the bat from Brian Anderson to dead center. 2-0 Miami. Run for Brian Anderson has given the Marlins an early 2-0 lead here in Atlanta. But now the Braves come to the plate in the bottom of the first inning. Take a look at their lineup presented to you by Southwest. Ronald Acuna Jr. inserted into that leadoff spot over the course of the last week or so, has been generally pretty successful in that spot. It had been Ozzie Albies before he tweaked his hamstring, got a couple of days off. Albies in the number 2 hole. A red-hot Freddie Freeman bats third, and Johan Camargo, a true run producer in this offense the last couple of months, is in there at number 6. Wei-Yin Chen is on the mound, a 5.65 ERA on the season, as his first pitch to Ronald Acuna Jr. is in there for a called strike. 17th start of the season. The home road splits we've talked about. The road, a lot like the crop circles. No explanation whatsoever.
Well, I'll give you an explanation. It's confidence. There's some confidence in there as Acuna went around. All right, well, here's where we'll go with it. Instead of harping on the bad that we've seen on the road so far this season, we do know that there's been a couple of decent road starts in there, and one happened to be right here. May 20th against the Atlanta Braves at SunTrust Park. 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, a couple earned runs, 5 Ks. Every hit he gave up was a single in that ball game. So he's got that going for him tonight. He's got success against the Braves throughout his career.
This one lifted into shallow right field. In is Anderson to make the play. 1 out.
Let's get you the Marlins defensively. Behind Chen, Dietrich gets the start in left. Sierra in center field. Anderson over in right. Prado, Rojas, Castro and Ward. JT behind the plate. Chen on the mound. For Chen, the left-handed hitters, they're going to see the fastball, the slider, and the changeup. The righties will generally see the fastball, the changeup, and then the slider.
Here's Ozzie Albies. Takes a called strike. Braves just had the Dodgers in town, and Albies was 3 for 13 in that series. Didn't see him in the 2-game set in Miami at the beginning of last week. Again, was dealing with that little hamstring tweak. No time on the DL because of it, just a few days off. Guy who got out of the gates like gangbusters this year. 1-2.
Now, one thing that Chen and certainly the Marlins have going for them, the Braves, we told you about the Newcomb start yesterday, which was, you know, absolutely fantastic for the Atlanta Braves, and a Braves win. But they did lose the 3 games prior to that. In fact, their last 4 losses have been to left-handed starting pitching. The Dodgers' 3 wins in their series against the Braves were starts from Wood, Hill, and Kershaw. Obviously, Chen before that. So, last 4 losses, all left-handed starters. Advantage Chen tonight.
Ball and 2 strikes. And that one misses low to the first-time All-Star Albies. Well, Chen a 2-0 lead to work with thanks to Brian Anderson. Mentioned the start that he had last time out. Threw 100 pitches for the first time since April of 2017. That's what's been so frustrating, is that there have been good starts, there have been pockets of good starts, and then there have been sort of the unexplainable sometimes with Wei-Yin Chen. But when he's been good, he's been very good. This one into the glove of JT Realmuto. 2 up and 2 down. The weather here at SunTrust Park on a Monday evening, first of a 3-game set. 78 degrees. I think we'd sign up for that. There is rain in the area, which apparently is not rare around here.
Just say rain in the area for tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and the next trip, and Philly trip, and it's that time of year.
Yeah, but apparently this is the rainiest part of Georgia, or at least the Atlanta area. And so hopefully we get these in without much of a delay. But tonight, not unpleasant at all. A warm breeze, but not a hot breeze.
Chen already picking up on the little bit of leeway that you see on both corners. Picks up a strike right there. This is the guy you want to get it against. Freeman, he's hitting .472 against the Marlins this season. 7 for 15 against Chen in his career.
He enters the game 3rd in the National League in on-base percentage, 2nd in hits, 5th in OPS, and 5th in batting average as well. Fouls it away. He's putting together a heck of a season, despite the fact that teams shift him quite a bit. Take a look at the StatCast AI powered by AWS. The distribution of balls in play on the ground in the infield, really wearing out that hole on the right side. Hence the 3 Marlins on the right side of the infield.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting, and when we show you that, of course, that's the ball on the ground in the infield. But what he does in the outfield, if we show you it on the wide screen, is that he hits the ball in the air the other way.
Well, it was fascinating when you mentioned a minute ago that the Braves are scuffling the last week or so against the left-handed starting pitchers. They've got some guys in their lineup, whether it be Freeman or Markakis or even Tyler Flowers a little bit lower in the lineup. They've got some terrific numbers against lefties. You saw that .313 average. As once again it's grounded to the right side, and Freeman is retired. No success against the lefty there for Freeman.
Atlanta, where Miami has jumped out to a 2-0 lead thanks to Brian Anderson. The Marlins, one of only 2 teams in Major League Baseball who have steadily increased their batting average every month since the start of the season. And for hitting coach Mike Pagliarulo, he said it's because guys have figured out who they are at the plate and what they are truly capable of. The beginning of the season was really about establishing an identity, but that identity has been established. It's about being scrappy, fighting to put together a good at-bat. And guys, we have already seen that approach from the Marlins early on against Julio Teheran.
Absolutely. And this whole team, whether it's an offensive identity, defensive identity, just kind of overall scrappiness to them. Granted, there's still 50 some odd games left in the season, but there have been moments in time where you could see the transition of this club.
Yeah, they have really frustrated some elite arms in the game, and that's one thing that's really impressed me. And you're right, I don't want to dare use the word small ball approach. I think that's how it kind of gets labeled. Well, we're thinking about singles, or we're thinking about staying inside the baseball and going to the middle or the big part of the field, or going the other way. Everybody all of a sudden jumps on the, on the other side of the conversation. Well, they don't have any power. Well, they do have some power. They just, they think about hitting first and being a lineup that puts hits together, as opposed to, well, swinging for the fences all the time. The classic example, how about Rojas? Rojas came out of the gate this year. He was hitting home runs, tons of power to left, right? All of a sudden, we thought that Rojas was kind of developing, and he started to struggle a little bit.
Right.
What did he go back to? Up the middle the other way. I mean, he went back to being a hitter again. It's been a little while since he's homered, but he's been quite productive over the last 6 weeks or so, staying up the middle and going the other way. That's his identity.
He last homered here in this ballpark, actually, toward the end of May. This one, a fly ball out to Markakis in right for the first out of the second.
Jump into a summer of savings. Marlins Flex 4-pack. Now you can customize a plan to save on individual game pricing and lock in priority access to giveaways. Starting at just $20, you can get the Flex 4-pack by visiting marlins.com/flex4 today.
Magneoris Sierra hitting 8th in center field tonight, facing Julio Teheran. Tries to bunt to reach base and fouls it back. He had a bunt the other night and came around to score the winning run in a walk-off win against the Washington Nationals. Takes outside. And in fact, that bunt, as Craig Minervini so finally pointed out in the pregame show yesterday, the sprint speed was the fastest home to first for a Marlin since StatCast came about. This one a fly ball to Inciarte for out number 2. Coming up in the 7th inning, the Ram game break. Light night of Major League action on a Monday. On a full slate of games, where they have 9 games on the schedule today. But we'll check in with Craig Minervini and Tommy Hutton coming up in a little bit. And Gabby Sanchez as well. Wei-Yin Chen takes a called strike. You know, it was Chen who kind of got a rally started last week against Julio Teheran. 99.5 miles an hour off the bat, a double for Wei-Yin Chen.
That's right.
Or should I say slugger Wei-Yin Chen.
I'll tell you, that's why Teheran is throwing him 2 sliders off the outside corner. And he saw that 99 miles an hour off the bat.
And a called strike 3. Through an inning and a half, 2-0. $1995 there in red, all of the division winning pennants up. But the 1995 World Series team, of course, led by Bobby Cox, tons and tons of talent and success through the years here in Atlanta. And of course, with that came an awful lot of wins, trips to the postseason, and then a few years later, Cooperstown as well. Those are just some of the individuals inducted into Cooperstown. Glavin, Cox, Maddox, Smoltz, Chipper Jones. Also the architect of that entire squad, John Sherholtz, into Cooperstown a couple of years ago as well. So the Hall of Fame classes through the years. How about Glavin, Cox, and Maddox in 2014? If John Smoltz, and I've asked him this question, do you regret going back to play one extra year?
St. Louis, I think,
knowing, yeah, in Boston, knowing what you know now, you guys all could have gone in together. But quite a run as Bobby Cox watches on here in Atlanta. I mean, you talk about this was really the gold standard of winning in the National League.
Well, and again, it was year in and year out. Atlanta Braves atop this division. I mean, everybody knew it. This was my era. I was playing through it. I mean, of course, a lot of my games were out on the West Coast, but you know, transitioned over here and certainly saw some of it in 03. I mean, you're right. It was the gold standard in this division. And how about this? You know, the face of the everyday player finally getting in Chipper Jones.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's kind of it. I mean, we all knew Bobby, and Bobby was at the top step all the time. I got to play for Bobby for a short period of time, but Chipper was the face of the player, and well deserved yesterday.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all the men that went into Cooperstown over the weekend. As Nick Markakis takes a called strike from Wei-Yin Chen, who set the Braves down in order in the first. He'll face Markakis, Flowers, and Camargo here in the second inning. 11 homers and 65 RBIs this season, a .320 average for Nick Markakis, who chops this one to Castro. And there is one away. Well, one thing that I pointed out, I know that you ran the numbers earlier. We were talking about the wins against, or the losses rather, against lefties the last week or so for the Braves. And I touched on it when Freeman grounded out, but whether it's Freeman or Markakis or this guy at the plate right now, Tyler Flowers, it's amazing. And again, it's a week, but these guys have had pretty good numbers against southpaws.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, Flowers, he's had a monstrous season. He's kind of the oddity, though. 421 on the season, 3 home runs, or excuse me, 3 of his 4 home runs, 11 of his 17 RBIs, and a .593 on base percentage against lefties this year. But 2 for 11 with 8 strikeouts against Chen in his career. Go figure. The great joy of baseball, right?
Right. From the something's got to give department. Ball and strike to Flowers, who splits time behind the plate with Kurt Suzuki. Holly just read you the numbers. Now you know why he's in the lineup tonight against the lefty. In the dirt, 2-1. This Braves team was 49-34, 3.5 games up in the NL East on July 2nd. Since then, they are 6-13, and they have fallen back to a game and a half behind the Philadelphia Phillies. Of course, the trade deadline tomorrow. Not sure how different Brian Snitker's team will look over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours when everybody that they potentially do trade for reports, but trying to get back in the win column on a more consistent basis here in Atlanta as Flowers works the wall.
Hey, Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. Download the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go.
And just in terms of who they may be going after, they have already acquired Brad Brock from the Baltimore Orioles. They brought back Johnny Venters, so he is here. Both of those guys are here. And in fact, Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News threw something out there today that the Braves expressing serious interest in Adrian Beltre to fill a hole at third. Speaking of, Johan Camargo with an extra base hit. We've seen this guy quite a bit the last couple of weeks. No RBI there, but he's got the most on this team since June 1st.
Well, and, you know, sometimes you take it personally when those rumors pop up. I'm not saying that's the case. This is a center cut fastball, and Camargo did not miss it. He blisters into that left center field gap. Nice job by Dietrich getting it in as it keeps Flowers at third base. And I do find it interesting. You're right. You know, you're talking about it. I'm sure he probably heard just a little bit about it. When you hear those rumors, you want to say, what rumors? We don't need a replacement around here. And here's the interesting thing. We talked to a few people about this conversation today. Interestingly enough, hey, Adrian Beltre, it's not a knock on either one. It's how the Braves are trying to get better. But Camargo has done a fantastic job for the Braves, and that's what everybody continues to say. They're like, we need help, but that's not necessarily where we need it.
Here is Ender Inciarte. Corners up for the Marlins. Middle infield back with one away. Here's the pitch. Out to left field. Going back is Dietrich, who will make the catch. Plenty deep enough to score Flowers. And on to third goes Camargo. Braves back within a run on the sacrifice fly from Inciarte. Well, it's something that we'll certainly talk about more tonight, I'm sure, and tomorrow. When we come on the air tomorrow, the trade deadline will have come and gone as Swanson takes the intentional walk to bring Tehran to the plate. But yeah, it is fascinating. There are the rumors that are out there, the things that come from the rumors, the things that never materialize. Certainly a fun time of year. Of course, Dan Straley's name's been thrown around. He will get the start tomorrow against Colby Allard, making his major league debut. Another one of the young bucks for the Atlanta Braves.
Now, I think for the Atlanta Braves, it's the coming together of a youthful story and one that's, obviously accelerated it in winning. How much can you add without affecting the growth? Now, you'd say that winning helps the growth. I certainly understand that, but you also don't want to create roadblocks. I think in most teams that are in the position that the Braves are in, much like the Phillies, I think, the idea is how do we add pieces or add somebody who doesn't block one of our younger players next year or down the road and still helps them win now without giving up any of those younger players to acquire that level of talent. Sometimes a complicated place. You love the teams like the Yankees or the Braves. They're all in all the time, right? So it makes a little bit more sense, and a lot of times it makes it easier to make trades. And I think for the Braves, we even heard this with the Nationals when it comes to JT Realmuto. Well, listen, JT doesn't come cheap. Where does it start? It starts at the top. It starts with your top prospect. Well, see, that makes sense, right? Well, the Braves are in that position as well.
The 0-2 fouled back to the screen.
Get into a position where your younger players are the ones who get you there, so you start to believe in your younger players. Acuña's playing, Albies is playing, Swanson's your shortstop. All these young players are producing.
And yet you still have that mix here in Atlanta of that experience too. There's some young experience too. I mean, Freddie Freeman, I don't think he's got a gray hair on his head yet. He's been around for a while, but he's here. Markakis has certainly seen a bit of a renaissance this year. And between Freeman, who's 28 years old, believe it or not, feels like he's been around forever, and the man in the box right now, Julio Tehran, really the two guys that were here when the team was good, 5-6 years ago. Been through some of the lean years and now back to the winning ways for the first 4 months of this 2018 season. As Tehran battles Chen. Ball and 2 strikes. Way in trying to get through this inning, protect the now 2-1 lead after the sacrifice fly by Ender Inciarte. Camargo at third, Swanson at first. And another 1-2 pitch is chopped foul.
Now, one thing the Braves are going to have to figure out is how to win here a little bit more consistently at SunTrust Park. 26-23 coming in, just 3 games over 500.
Chen ready to deliver another 1-2 pitch. Tehran's already fouled off 5 pitches in this at bat. He takes upstairs 2-2. into center field will fall for a base hit. In to score is Camargo. To third goes Swanson. And after an 8-pitch at-bat, Julio Teheran, who gave up a double to Chen a week ago, gets him back with the knock to center field.
Yeah, gets a little bit of payback. Now, that's the one thing that has kind of plagued Chen this season. Of course, I'm saying it against Teheran, the pitcher, but the breaking balls to the right-handed hitters has been hit hard by the righties. Generally, over his last 4 or 5 starts, doing his best to stay away from the breaking ball. Hangs this one up at the thighs, and Teheran doesn't miss it. Lines it into center field for the tying run.
2 in the top of the first for the Marlins, 2 so far here for the Braves in the bottom of the second. Here's Ronald Acuna Jr. Takes a big swing, flies this one out to right field down the line, but Anderson will get there for the final out. Braves tie it up here in Atlanta.
Head to the top of the third. Like you heard the guys mention, the trade deadline is less than 24 hours away. Here is Don Mattingly on keeping his team focused during this time.
We talked about it probably right after the break, and just know that there's going to be, as soon as the break's over, you know it's going to be right there on the tip of everybody's tongues, kind of, and that there would probably be guys with art that would be mentioned, because there seems like everybody's mentioned in some way, shape, or form almost. And then just count on that you just take care of your business.
If the Marlins make any moves, we will be sure to have you covered. But guys, I know Don Mattingly focused on winning a ball game here tonight in Atlanta.
Jessica, thank you. Yeah, that's really all you could do. I mean, the guys who are kind of here and in uniform are not the ones that make the decisions. It's the GMs, it's the president of baseball operations of the 30 clubs that make those decisions. All you could do is try to compartmentalize if your name or your players are in said rumors and go out and play.
Having lived through these 2 days many times in my career, yeah, that's exactly it. If people are interested in you, it's because you've played well. And if they're not, well, try to fix it. Pretty simple. And the idea that, and you hear some guys say it, of course, getting traded is never easy, but again, a good opportunity for, you know, some players to end up on a contender or a team that may actually end up in the playoffs and have a good push. Cameron Maybin can certainly speak to that last year.
Yeah, he's got a very heavy piece of hardware thanks to the Astros World Series ring as Camargo puts away a little pop-up off the bat of Derek Dietrich. One away here in the third. For a player who was traded at the deadline how many times? 2, 3?
Yeah, I think
twice.
Well, at this deadline, right? I think 2 or 3. I'd have to go back.
So you moved mid-season. You moved mid-season a couple of times,
True.
right?
Yes.
Does it get easier emotionally? Does it get easier physically in terms of, I got to find a place to live, I got to move my family? Because sometimes fans don't often think of that.
It's a great question. It's never easy on anybody's family, no matter what the circumstances are. But that's, you know, really the key to the question is where are you going and what's your opportunity for you personally? And, you know, if you got a chance to win, it's fantastic. You may be going from a situation that, you know, a team may just be playing out the next 2 months. You might be going to a contender. But when you factor in everything else, you got to find a place to stay for 2 months. That's never easy to do. You know, you've got your family, your wife, and your children. You realize what an incredible job all these wives do with the kids. This is the time where you actually do your best to acknowledge that, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Because I can't tell you how much stress goes on the family when you change. You know, even if you're, let's just say in a city for a year or two, maybe you don't own a home in that city, but you've been there, you get traded, you're living out of a hotel, living out of a suitcase, and you know, the rest of the season, whether you're home or on the road.
Two balls and a strike to Brian Anderson, who had a 2-run home run to dead center field back in the first inning. And he takes a called strike, 2-2. Well, I remember that being the case with Jay Bruce, famously a couple of years ago when he was traded from the Cincinnati Reds to the New York Mets. I think he had a young child at the time. I mean, it's nice to sit back as a fan and say, well, this baseball player should be doing X, Y, or Z because, well, he's a professional. He's still a human being. I mean, there are other things. As Anderson grounds out, I mean,
well, if I remember the circumstances surrounding the trade, I think that there was some misunderstanding, like even things that were being said, and I think Jay was kind of expressing it more personally that, you know, this has been difficult on my family. It's the first time that I've really had to do it. I've been in the Reds uniform for a very long time, and people took that as he doesn't want to be in New York.
Right.
And that's just terribly unfair to him as a player, because it isn't easy. I mean, that's just the thing. I'm sure JT, listen, his name is out there because he's a heck of a ball player. He's had an all-star season, but point being, he and his wife just had a beautiful child, and their family's budding right now, right? So here's JT, and he's got to deal with all these rumors that are kind of kicking around. Comes with the territory, comes with baseball. The best way that I learned to deal with it was just accept it as a compliment, as opposed to we don't want you. Look at it as they do. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Right. Look at the 0-1 pitch. It was called strike 2. Of course, JT, who's working behind the plate on the Marlins side of things, is trying to figure out, well, the strike zone's going to be the same for both sides or not. Let's hope so. Not in so many words. Fouled into the seat, still 0-2. Tehran, who threw 31 pitches in the first inning, up to 51 with 2 outs here in the third. JT popped up to second base back in inning number 1. Right after the 2-run home run from Brian Anderson. Number 9 on the season. Tehran into the wind. Here it comes. And he gets a strikeout of Real Muto. So after that 2-run first, back-to-back 1-2-3 innings. The bottom of the third inning. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, Jessica Blaylock as we move to the bottom of inning number 3. 2-2 the score, first of a 3-game series. A 2-run home run from Brian Anderson in the top of the first inning. A sac fly from Ender Inciarte, and Julio Teheran with an RBI single. Number 2 hitter in the order, Ozzie Albies, with the ground ball too short. Rojas makes the play, and 1 quick out in the third. Freddie Freeman grounded out to end the first inning. Takes low for ball 1 after the ground ball. Now 7 for 16 against Chen in his career. Entered the ball game hitting .472 against the Marlins this season.
Freddie Freeman, along with Markakis, have played every game for the Braves this season.
Off the brick wall. I'm surprised they're throwing that one out of play.
Just a little scuff.
A little bit. Those two guys have played every game, Freeman and Markakis, and as I mentioned before, Freeman's been here through the good, through the bad, and now what looks to be the beginning of a very open window for the Atlanta Braves, a young team, but the last link to the old guard Braves actually made his debut when newly minted Hall of Famer Chipper Jones was still on the team. Bobby Cox was in his final year as the manager. Guy who has certainly, as you see, Bobby Cox is number 6, Chipper Jones number 10. To this point, certainly lived up to the contract that he signed. 8 years, $135 million. Signed that extension in February of 2014. Played the All-Star game this year. Joey Votto, Paul Goldschmidt, usually in that conversation for best first baseman in the National League. And this year in the conversation, albeit with 2 months to go, for perhaps an MVP. This one is driven out to right center field. And right on cue, Freddie Freeman goes deep.
Now Freeman's 6th home run this season versus the Marlins. 11th RBI. He seems to show up at least, well, every game so far this season. Seems to do something in each one of those games offensively, and really has all season long. Is giving the Braves the lead. We've seen that swing a number of times, and that result a number of times already this season. 9th home run against left-handed pitching this season for Freeman.
He doesn't just survive against lefties.
Owns them. .344. That's second in baseball. Lefties on lefties.
Nick Markakis now waiting on a 1-1 pitch. talking about that contract that Freeman signed. How about the one that Nick Markakis signed to come here after his time in Baltimore? As this one is popped up on the infield. Bohr moving in. We'll catch that one for the second out of the inning.
Marlins fans, on select games this season, one lucky fan will be awarded a 2-year car lease during the middle of the 8th inning. The Marlins Year of the Fan sweepstakes presented by Auto Nation. Marlins fans are automatically entered to win when the digital ticket is scanned on eligible dates. For official rules, visit marlins.com/YOF sweepstakes today.
There's Flowers. Just to finish the point there on Markakis, he signed a 4-year, $44 million deal. He's in the last year of it now. But when he came over to Atlanta from Baltimore, signed that deal, he needed surgery immediately. And some people were thinking, well, geez, that's not a good deal for the Braves. Usually the best years of a contract are at the beginning. But for Markakis, the best year of his deal has been in this, his walk year. But he is 0 for 2 tonight. Flowers, however, walked and scored.
Now the Marlins are 12-11 in the month of July. A chance for a winning record this month. Big reason, pitching has been outstanding. Held their opponents to 3 earned runs or less in 11 of 23. Obviously, you see the score right now. It's kind of the threshold. If the Marlins have been able to hold the opposition to 3 earned runs or less, they are 9-2.
Up the third base line, but foul. 3-2 to Flowers. Time that Chen has gone to a full count, up over 50 pitches. And Phil Cuzzy wants to talk with Chen about the baseball, apparently. Not quite sure what that was all about, but
I think Flowers put in a request for a new baseball, and so Cuzzy accommodated him.
Three-two pitch on the way, misses up and away. And for the second time tonight, Flowers has drawn a walk. It's the third walk tonight for Chen, one of them intentional. Bring up Johan Camargo. Had that double, came around to score in the second inning. Camargo takes a called strike. You go back to June 1st, and Camargo leads this team with 29 RBIs. He was named the starting third baseman on the 20th of May. Actually, the Marlins were in town that time. He's hitting .261 since then, a .336 on base percentage prior to tonight's double. This one yanked down the left field line and fair into the corner. Flowers being waved around by Ron Washington. And they'll throw to third and get Camargo. The run did come in to score before Camargo was tagged out. So 4-2 Atlanta through 3. runs home in the bottom of the third. And it is a 4-2 lead for Atlanta. But the home plate umpire, Phil Cuzzy, calling the edges tonight, Holly.
Well, he certainly is. And listen, nobody's going to tell you it's an easy job. And this isn't on Phil Cuzzy. And you're going to see some of these in the zone and some, well, not. And, of course, much of the conversation is, back in the day, I guess my generation, we say we want consistency. If you call it for them, you can call it for us, no matter what it is. But in today's game, you want accuracy. You don't want any of this nonsense. But here's the kicker to the equation, and this is why I have a very hard time ever getting on home plate umpires. Number one, we've got all sorts of gadgets to zone in on it. But here's the other thing. All the catchers are trained to steal strikes. Tyler Flowers is one of the best of them.
Yeah.
JT works at it all the time. He's getting good at it. Bringing that ball that's 2 inches off the edge back into the strike zone. What are you trying to do? You're trying to fool the guy that's leaning right over your right shoulder. And you want to be an umpire.
Right. There is certainly a group that is calling for an automated strike zone. The commissioner has certainly talked about that, and the technology is not there yet. Catching instructor, catching coach Brian Schneider looks on. Sure, he's presented a strike. If you talk to a catcher, that's what they call it. Presented strikes. Heard them say that before.
Talk to a hitter. I'll tell you what I call it. Stealing strikes.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right. But yeah, the technology in terms of implementing it on an everyday basis in 15 games a night is not quite there just yet. So that's, part of the reason why it's not here every day, but here's another.
Well, take a look. Watch Tyler Flowers' glove. Where did it end up? Where did it start out? I mean, he moved it 3-4 inches into the strike zone, but what he does is he creates a rhythm with how he brings the ball back into the strike zone, so anybody watching would almost see it. Oh, that ball's in the strike zone every time. But where you see where he sets up, he's off the plate, and he snatches it right into the strike zone. What does an umpire do? What should we all be doing? Oh, well, that's a strike. That's a strike. So he is very good at this. He's one of the best in the game.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Justin Bohr, who grounded out to Freeman back in the first inning. Long wait for Tehran, who brings the 2-2 pitch, and that one misses low. Tehran gave up the 2 runs in the first inning on the home run to Anderson after the Dietrich walk. A hit to Castro in that first, but since then he set down 7 in a row prior to that walk to Justin Bohr.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
One on, nobody out for Starlin Castro. It's another walk for Justin Bohr. I know we've talked about this once, twice, or 1,000 times. As he keeps adding to his career-high mark, he's up to 66. I was looking it up the other day. His swing percentage, just overall, not in the zone or out of the zone, just overall, is at a career low. He has been extremely patient at the plate this year. It's led to the walks, of course.
And this is the team he's done it the most against.
Castro, right center, long run for Inciarte. He will get there for the first out.
Well, 6 of his 9 games against the Braves this season, he's walked 2 or more times. So there you go. He's walked an awful lot this season, and he walks an awful lot against the Braves.
And then there's the Santanas, the Vottos, and the Harpers, who are just in a different stratosphere in the National League when it comes to free passes.
Well, part of the art is the foul ball, which I always find so interesting, because people will look at them and say, oh, well, they just have the best eyes in the game. Well, they also defend the strike zone against pitchers' pitches better than everybody else as well. There's an art to it, being able to foul off key pitches, tough pitches, and not always put them in play, if you know what I mean. A lot of times you'll see a guy borderline pitch, low and away, tap it back to the mound with 2 strikes. Well, some foul that off, others put that ball in play. I unfortunately was the guy that put it in play all the time.
Always.
You know how many times I ran alongside the pitcher to first?
Muttering something under your
Usually
breath.
at him, like just throw it down the middle.
Prado takes ball 2 outside. Remember I mean, I know you remember it, but the game Pepper?
Very much.
Guys play that anymore? I remember going to like I'm from Connecticut, so I didn't go to a lot of major league games like every week, but I would go to minor league games every Friday with my dad.
It's funny you should say that. I do make my guys play it a lot.
And they would play Pepper before every game.
Well, I felt there was a conspiracy just past my childhood, and the conspiracy was this, and I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. Every ballpark you went to, it said no pepper on the fence.
Yeah, no pepper.
And
games.
I think it made everybody stop playing Pepper. I'm not kidding when I say this. I know it sounds funny, but listen, I teach my guys all the time. Every year I teach them. Make them play it. Bat the ball. Hand-eye coordination.
What was the reasoning behind not being able to play Pepper?
I don't know. They were the fence. I don't know. It's just
somebody's going to get
somebody
hurt.
didn't like the noise. I don't know.
That foul, still 2-2.
I always thought a chain link fence was the perfect place to play it. We didn't have to chase the ball.
Well,
Never got away.
I mean, again, I only played through high school, but we played too, like before a game. The whole point of it was not to hit home runs, but just kind of tap it back to the guy.
Well, yeah, you would play
with like
one
3
hop,
guys, right?
And if you lined out, then you got to switch. That was the whole idea. But you're absolutely right. I just never understood why every ball field, every youth field in America says no pepper somewhere near home plate.
Lifted over the head of Albies for a base hit by Martin Prado. Who's probably very good at Pepper.
He pretty much just played Pepper with that pitch. And I'll tell you what, Martin and I had a real short conversation about batting practice today. It's funny how some guys go into batting practice and they work on their swing and they just say, listen, I'm here to get hits and I'm visualizing. And he and I had a good lengthy conversation about it, and it's essentially what he just did right there. So deliberate in staying inside that baseball and trying to go the other way. That ball checked up as it hit, by the way.
Well, it was a base hit on the 6th pitch of that at bat. Another 2-strike hit for Martin Prado. Loves working deep into counts. Did so right there, and now sets up a 2-on-1 out situation for Miguel Rojas, who swings and misses. 0-1. Rojas with a fly ball out to Markakis back in the 2nd. Approaching 70 pitches for Julio Teheran. 31 of those were in the 1st inning. 2nd and 3rd kind of settled down a little bit. Marlins making him work here in the 4th. Try to erase a 4-2 deficit.
And Rojas 357, 14 RBIs over his last 35 games. .338 on the season with runners in scoring position.
A stalemate. It'll be an 0-2 from Teheran to Rojas. Here it comes into center field, and it'll be Inciarte in right center to make the play for out number 2. Middle game of this 3-game series coming up tomorrow. South Florida Honda dealers present Marlins Live, the pregame show, again on with the pregame show at 7 o'clock. First pitch a little after 7:30. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, Gabby Sanchez in the studio. It's an email Twitter Tuesday. Dan Straley on the mound for the Marlins, and Colby Allard makes his major league debut. Second 20-year-old that the Braves will trot out this year as a starting pitcher, I must clarify. They've got a number of youngsters on this club. Magnioris Sierra down to the count 0-1. Fly ball out to Inciarte back in the second.
Sierra looking to pick up his first RBI as a Marlin.
Justin Bohr, the runner on at second base, led off the inning with a walk. Starlin Castro flew out. Martin Prado with a base hit. And then Rojas with a fly ball as well. So 2 on, 2 out. Marlins down 2 here in the fourth. One-two pitch. Cut on and missed. Flowers applies the tag. And the Marlins leave a couple of men on base. We're through 3.5. Braves in front, 4-2. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic, stiff joints, aches and pains. Trust Cleveland Clinic Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. And by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth, Jessica Blaylock here at SunTrust Park. First of 3 between the Marlins and the Braves. These two teams split a 2-game set last week at Marlins Park. The 3 here at SunTrust before the Marlins head up to Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia for the first trip to Philly since early April. First road trip of the season. On to the 4th for Wei-Yin Chen. 3 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, including 2 in each of the last couple of innings.
Well, he's been wiggling. Obviously, you see the 4 earned runs through 3 innings pitched. He's going to have to settle in if he wants this to continue on. Marlins chasing 2 already. I'll tell you what, there's one theme that has kind of played through this seasonal series with the Braves. I don't know about you, but it is really starting to sting this team. 37, including 2 more tonight. 37 2-out runs have scored, including the last one. The Atlanta Braves on the season are hitting .374 with 2 outs.
You say that again?
.374 with 2 outs. They've scored 37 2-out runs against the Marlins. Wow. Third most in Major League Baseball. A lot of these innings, they start, quietly, and you think everything's right where it needs to be, and all of a sudden you see a walk to Flowers. All of a sudden there's a double, and they score another 2-out run. I mean, they did this last week. They've done this all season long. It's kind of the theme of the Braves. One of the better teams in baseball with 2 outs.
Well, with 1 out after the ground ball, here's Dansby Swanson. He was intentionally walked in the 2nd inning. Right before a 2-out RBI single from Julio Teheran. To Swanson. Of course, the last time the Marlins were here in Atlanta, it was Swanson who was the hero, capping that furious 9th inning rally. The Braves erasing a deficit, winning in walk-off fashion on a Sunday afternoon here in mid to late May. Take you back to May against Teheran Guerrero, who, by the way, is working his way back from the DL. Just fair inside the line.
Well, if you remember, most of that inning was with 2 outs.
I believe that rally started with 1 out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
saying,
like 3 or 4 of the last runs of that. I mean, listen, we showed you the painful end. That was the exclamation mark right there. The Marlins had a 6-run lead at one point in that ball game.
In the air to Anderson. In and over a few steps to make the play. 2 down.
Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Disputed with Skip and Shannon weekdays from 9:30 a.m. till noon Eastern, only on FS1.
Bring up Julio Teheran with 2 outs here in the 4th inning. Well, from Julio Teheran to Teheran Guerrero, the update on Guerrero was he was going to go through another rehab outing, and because of weather, has been in an airport all day, so he's going to have that rehab outing pushed back a day. Certainly hope to get him back from a back injury as Prado makes the play. We are through 4 here at SunTrust Park. 4-2. Braves have a 4-2 lead in the opener of this 3-game set. Something that we've noticed throughout this game is how Flowers has been presenting strikes, as catchers might say.
Stealing strikes. Stop it right now. Yeah, watch that glove. He even has it laying on the ground. It's not where he starts, it's where he finishes, and kind of almost lulling. You create a rhythm to what you're doing, and that's what makes Tyler Flowers so good at what he does when it comes to, as I say, stealing those strikes. You know, the idea is you can almost see that glove, like he kind of lays it down, all of a sudden he just kind of snaps it right into the strike zone, and that's the idea. Now, if you watch something enough, as we all know, much like we say riding a bike, right? We put our left foot on, we put our right foot on, and we ride the bike. We ride the bike the same way the rest of our lives. Well, this is very similar. What he tries to do, and again, I don't want to say he's setting up the home plate umpires, but it's what the umpire sees every time. The rhythm to the way that he catches. So every ball he catches has this rhythm to it. So there's going to be strikes in the strike zone that are right there, but the ones that are on the edges, he just snatches them right back into the strike zone, and umpire thinks, well, that's got to be a strike. It's in the strike zone. No, it was actually 2 or 3 inches off the outside corner, because he falls victim to it.
Yeah, and I know that's
the way it works.
Certainly something that JT Realmuto has gotten better at over the last couple of seasons. His Wei-Yin Chen slaps this one foul, 1-1.
Well, I just think it's such an interesting conversation, right? I mean, we talk about, you know, the automated strike zone a lot. It certainly kind of ends up out there, but you know, our catchers are doing everything in their power to trick the man who's right over their shoulder. Right? We're not really doing them a whole lot of favors.
Right. You know, I've also heard catchers say the part of being a great pitch framer is knowing which ones not to try to steal. Because if there's a pitch that's 6 inches outside that is clearly a ball,
right,
and you try to snatch that one back into the zone, the umpire's going to figure you're up to something.
Right.
Chen grounds out for the first down here.
And I certainly agree with that. But what you see with Flowers, which I think makes him special, makes him unique, is you watch the rhythm for the way he catches every ball that's thrown to him. Even if it is 6 inches, he may not drag it all the way back to that strike zone. And it's not the idea that on that pitch, that's what he's trying to do, is trick him. But the idea is that's the rhythm of how he wants to catch the ball. Everything is back to the strike zone.
And sometimes catchers will also catch it into their body, right? Or catch it deeper into their body.
Oh, that's allowing the ball to travel. And again, that's usually, you know, you have a pitcher with a good two-seam fastball or late run. You can let that run play all the way to your body. If you, instead of reaching out and grabbing it, you kind of let it get on you a little bit. So even on that backhand from Flowers, you saw how the motion kind of went right back up into the strike zone, even on a ball that bounced.
Two balls and no strikes to Derek Dietrich. Able to hold up 3-0.
Now, Tehran has been able to find the good. As you mentioned, a rude introduction to this ball game. A walk to Dietrich in the first, 2-run home run to Anderson, but since, very little trouble to navigate through. Now, the one thing when it comes to Tehran this season that's really stood out, and we've talked about it in a few different ways, but the batting average on balls in play coming into tonight, only a .228 average. That's pretty decent. Getting the job done, not a whole lot of hits. It's the type of hits. There's another one. That one's about 4 or 5 inches off that outside corner on a 3-1 pitch, and he got it right back into the strike zone. Watch the rhythm. Like it was there the whole time. I think that might be the first time we really didn't see Flowers kind of snap it back into the strike zone. He just kind of gave him a stationary target and didn't move it. Even Dietrich kind of waited.
Wow. It is that little, I don't know if that's necessarily cat and mouse game, but the game within the game.
Oh, it's been going on all night long. Yeah. I mean, you just got to know what you're watching. A lot of communication going on at home plate between the catchers. JT, I know, has looked back and said a few different things about the strike zone when he was on offense.
Ball to Brian Anderson. One more look at ball 4 to Dietrich.
Tehran's action. Well, I'm telling you, I think Flowers has even got him fooled. You got the last one. What else you want?
I think I figured it out. It just clicked. It's Atlanta. Think about the guys that win the Hall of Fame. We were just talking about it. Maddox, Glavine. I mean, the plate was at least 26 inches wide for those guys. It's got to be Atlanta. That's it. I nailed it.
Well, you nailed a conversation that's been going on for about 20 years. There's no denying that.
2-0 to Brian Anderson. This one skied out to right field. Markakis will make the play for out number 2. Well, speaking of Hall of Famers, Geico presents this day in Major League history. July 30th, 2007, Cal Ripken Jr., Tony Gwynn inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. An estimated 75,000 people in attendance. Also 53 Hall of Famers. Ripken at 98.5%, Gwynn 97.6%. First year ballot Hall of Famers. 3,000 hits for each. Of course, the lengthy consecutive game streak broke Lou Gehrig's record at 21-31. Ended up playing 26-32. Cal Ripken Jr. Strike to JT Realmuto, 0-1. Big crowd on hand yesterday. I thought I saw an estimated number 53,000, I believe was the number. Cooperstown yesterday. Big faction of Braves fans there. Chipper Jones going in. It was also interesting. I guess I never really paid attention if they go alphabetically for who gives their speech first. I don't know. But Chipper Jones went first because his wife, they're expecting a baby. The baby was due yesterday, and they're actually naming the child. Did you see this? Naming the child Cooper because of Cooperstown. And then his other child, as we noted a few days ago, because of his success in New York, named Shea.
My old partner had tweeted something out, Steve Phillips, from his Twitter account, referencing that, and I thought it was hysterical. He was talking about, I got you into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
He was former general manager of the New York Mets. And, he kind of took that as backhanded. Of course, it was quite funny. I mean, he certainly understood it. But, yeah, so what? Shea leads to Cooper?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Bay Steelers 9 for 12 against Tehran. Charlie Castro stolen base in this game already.
Up over 90 pitches already for Tehran. Here's number 92. Realmuto, right center field. Hit well, and Ciarte up against the wall, and that one's going to be extra bases. Around from third is Dietrich. He will score on the RBI double by JT Realmuto. Didn't miss a home run by much, but he'll take the 2-out RBI double to close the gap to 4-3.
Now, great swing once again from JT going to right center field. Oh, just off the top of that brick. The ricochet back towards the infield. A beautiful swing. The fastball split the plate just above the belt. JT is now hitting his last 5 games at SunTrust. 3 doubles, 2 triples, and 6 RBIs.
So Dietrich has scored a couple of runs. JT with his 24th double of the season. Now the tying run is in scoring position for Starlin Castro. After Justin Bour was intentionally walked. 2 on, 2 out here in the 5th. So another multi-walk game against the Braves for JB. Castro takes the ball low and away.
7 of 10.
It's pretty good. Castro a base hit and stolen base in the first inning, flew out in the fourth. Coming into this ball game over the course of his last 28 games, .342 with a .907 OPS. 14 multi-hit games in that span. Action in the pen. Shane Carl up for the Braves. Flowers out to talk with Tehran. He was down to the count 2-0. There's 1-2-3 innings in the second and the third, but outside of that, there has been traffic. Of course, the Marlins scored twice in the first. They left 2 runners on base in the fourth. They've already scored 1 here in this inning and have 2 more on. Two-0 pitch to Castro. On the edge for a strike, 2-1. '20th career start for Tehran against the Marlins. Entered the day 6-6 with a .423 ERA. To a frustrated Castro.
You know, I've got some advice. I'm not sure it's worth a darn up here. You need to stop complaining at Cuzzy and start complaining at Flowers.
There you go.
Stop it.
Yeah. Big pitch coming. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. A little low. Even bigger pitch coming now that they are full and the runners will be off on the pitch. RBI double for Real Muto has closed the gap here in the 5th inning. 4th full count of the night for Tehran. Here it comes. Boy, oh boy, right on the edge. And a called strike 3 through 4.5. Need a strike called? Call 1-800-Flowers.
Marlins have closed the gap. It's a one-run game in the bottom of the 5th. Well, there are a lot of players with great nicknames, and Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of them. El Abusador for Acuna. It was given to him by Starling Marte back in 2016 when Marte heard about how Acuna was, quote, destroying the ball in low A. You can see that it's stuck. It's even on his Instagram account. Guys, a lot of hype in the minors for Acuna. He's lived up to it so far in the majors, but the Marlins do not want to see El Abusador here in this series.
That is, that's an aggressive nickname. El Abusador? Wow.
Especially for a teenager.
Jeez. My, oh my. Well, he certainly lived up to it last year, the minor league player of the year. Not just in the Braves system, but across all of minor league baseball. He leads off the bottom of the 5th. El Abusador out to center field, out of the reach of Sierra for a home run. It's 400 to dead center. He hit that one about 406 inches.
Well, coming into tonight's ball game, we heard an awful lot about home runs not leaving this ballpark. I certainly think that makes pitchers more aggressive when you hear, 0.53 home runs per game since the start of June. Well, we've seen 3 tonight. It's a pretty good effort by the young Sierra, just out of the reach.
Acuna thought it was gone off the bat. Wasn't necessarily a no-doubter, but I'm sure he'll take it anyway. His 10th of the season. It's now 5-3. Two and 1 to Ozzie Albies. Well, here's the thing with Chen. I mean, you're not going to. It's a 10+ ERA on the road coming into tonight. But you got to look at it like this. It's 5-3 right now. Throw the ERA out the window. He's not going to shave, as Prado catches the line drive, not going to shave 7 runs off his ERA tonight. But what he can do is battle and try to keep this team in the game and not let it get out of hand the rest of the way. That's the goal.
You're absolutely right. And he's in a position now where the damage has been done, but you've got to kind of maintain that deficit, try to keep it at a 2-run ball game. Marlins look as though they're going to battle tonight. Going to score a couple of runs. Obviously 2 in the 1st, 1 in the 5th. Looks like a light rain has started to fall at SunTrust Park.
Yeah, you can start to smell it. Smell a rainstorm coming through. Outside to Freeman. By the way, we were talking about the lefty on lefty and how
Let's look at the rain.
Yeah, how good Freeman has been. Did you have the rankings where he ranks lefties? He's near the top, right? We'll put it that way.
Second.
He's second this year? Okay. I tried to look back through time. So Yelich is at the top of that list, hitting 356 rather. So from 1908 to this year, lefty on lefty. Guys that have played a full season, I sorted by 500 plate appearances. In 1933, Chuck Klein hit 482. Ted Williams, the year that he hit 406, third on the list, hit 463 against lefties. There's an offer.
See too many lefty on lefty changeups. That's where Chen went there to get the strikeout.
It's time for the Toyota Trend with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th inning. So teams that are best against their own division. Boston is, they're good against everybody. 33-14. Then Cleveland's 30-14, and Atlanta has done some amazing work against the National League East. 29-16, 644 win percentage.
Yeah, they're the only team in this division that's got a winning record versus the division. Everybody else kind of hovering around 500, a few games under. Marlins a little bit farther down that list.
There's the East again. Philadelphia at the top. They are currently tied at 1 in the bottom of the 8th inning in Boston, where the Red Sox do not lose at home. And then you've got Washington in the mix. Of course, they have been in many a headline the last few days. Going into that series that the Marlins just played against them, those 4 games were going to be make or break. Now, part of that was how the Nationals fared. Part of that was how the Braves and Phillies fared. This one is skied down the left field line through the raindrops. Dietrich, a long run, will make the catch. We've got less than 24 hours till the trade deadline. See what happens. 5-3. Pace for 112. It'll be the most in the American League since 116 from the Mariners back in 2001. Of course, the Yankees went on to win the World Series in 1998 with 114 regular season wins. Shane Carl in his 42nd game this season, pitching to a 2.63 ERA. Part of a bit of a new look Braves bullpen from the last time we saw Atlanta about a week ago.
Well, Carl's got a good arm. 95 plus on the 4-seam fastball. Slider, curve, and change.
Martin Prado to lead it off, then Miguel Rojas and Magneuris Sierra. Marlins down a couple here in the 6th inning. So for Julio Teheran, 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs. They were all earned. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Carl, the first man out of the Braves bullpen that now has Johnny Venters back. Brad Brock here from the Baltimore Orioles as Prado gets a base hit. And it's another multi-hit game for Martin Prado. That is 8 in his last 15. Locked in much. his 12th multi-hit game of the season. That'll bring up Miguel Rojas. Biggie tonight, couple of fly balls, one to right, one to center. And a called strike. 0-1. Eliezer Hernandez begins to loosen. May have broken his bat on the ground ball. 5-4-3 double play. So the Braves go around the horn to get 2 outs here in the 6th. Time now for the Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight. We focus in on Trevor Rogers with the Greensboro Grasshoppers. A-ball, first-round pick, 13th overall in 2017. The South Atlantic League Pitcher of the Week. Has been on a bit of a tear. Took a no-no 7 2/3 the other night. Struck out a career-high 12, a 1.90 ERA over his last 4 starts, and a 2.67 ERA in 6 July starts. So a pretty impressive run for Rogers. Congratulations to him on the weekly honor.
He's been striking them out left and right. But 41 strikeouts in just over 33 innings in the month.
1-0 pitch to Sierra. Tries to lay down the bunt, but bunted it off his leg, and Phil Cuzzy says he was outside the box when he did so. So Sierra is ruled out. That'll do it for the Marlins in the 6th. One more look. As we head to the last of the 6th inning, one more look at the play that ended the top of this inning on the Sierra bunt attempt. Ruled out because it hit him when he was out of the box, but it's debatable.
Yeah, that's not out of the box. He's in the box, still in the box, still in the box. Now he's out of the box. Yeah, I don't agree with that call. That's not the right call. That's a foul ball right there. He's still in the box, had both feet on the line.
Well, he may have been in the box, but he is out of the game as Cameron Maben takes over in center field. Eliezer Hernandez takes over on the mound. His 20th game this season for the Marlins. He's Been better as of late. Last couple of times out. His first pitch to Tyler Flowers is outside. 1-0.
After a rough one in D.C. going back to the 7th of July, leave those numbers off the board. He has been unscored upon his last 4 times out. 4 2/3 innings, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts, a couple of walks, only 2 hits allowed. So he's been throwing the ball much better. Lefty's hitting .319, righty's .265. Almost half of his relief appearances have been 2 innings or longer.
Well, he did have that 1 pitch outing a couple days ago, which you don't often see. At least not from a non-lefty specialist. But on in relief of Wei-Yin Chen, who went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned, 3 walks and a strikeout. Payoff pitch to Flowers. He's sent into left field for a base hit.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
Leadoff base hit for Flowers. That'll bring up Johan Camargo as Jesse Biddle, the lefty, loosens in the Braves bullpen.
A big night for Camargo, a couple of doubles and RBI.
That was the first pitch back, 0-1. Doubled and scored in the 2nd inning and had an RBI double in the 3rd inning. Was thrown out trying to go to 3rd. That ended the 3rd inning. Cut on and missed, 0-2.
Camargo, 24 years old, native of Panama.
He's what, the 3rd different Brave that has seen a chunk of playing time at 3rd base. It was Ryan Flaherty, it was Jose Bautista for a little while, but it has been Camargo who has emerged as the 3rd baseman, leading this team in RBIs since the beginning of June.
He's done a lot of that. A lot of that damage, as you mentioned, from the beginning of June. He's done pretty well against the lefties and the righties. A little bit better from the right side. 5 homers, 27 RBIs versus the righties.
Popped up right on the foul line. Martin Prada will make the play for the first out here in the 6th. Bring up Ender Inciarte. Sacrifice fly in the 2nd inning, grounded out in the 4th. Sac fly got the Braves on the board. They would score another in that inning. This time it is rolled to 2nd base. Castro will get Inciarte as Flowers moves up to 2nd. It wasn't hit hard. Castro had to get rid of it quick with Inciarte busting it down the line. unfortunately, it looks like the drizzle never got worse than that, and it's also stopped drizzling. We were talking about this the other day as Dansby Swanson digs in just yesterday. That probably going to kick myself for saying this, but the Marlins have had really good luck through the first 105 or so games in terms of weather. Now, roughly half of the games were played inside at Marlins Park. But I can only remember, what, 2 times that there's been tarp on the field?
Yeah, this is the first game
Todd,
of the road trip, right?
Todd, you can't see it at home. Todd is staring through my soul right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
he just hit me with his shoe. He just hit me with his shoe.
You're right in that.
They've had luck to this point.
I'm having a hard time acknowledging you right now.
Not only that, but you hate talking about weather.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah, we started the game today. You first said, well, every time we've come to Atlanta, boy, we haven't really seen a whole lot of rain here. No rain in Atlanta. Oh, but it happens to be the rainiest part of the state.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. They got the land for cheap. That's the story, because it's so rainy here.
Oh, look, the rain's picked up.
There you go.
Thanks.
It's about a 20-25 minute drive to the hotel. For some, it'll be about a 4-hour walk for me tonight. That's my guess.
Look at that. He's staring at you.
Even he's upset. The Chick-fil-A cow.
It's not.
Can't believe you said that.
What is wrong with you, man? Well, why would you bring up the weather at this stage of the series?
Yeah, that's pretty stupid. That was pretty stupid. That was a called strike. Dansby Swanson, a little flummoxed by that one.
JT can do it too, you know. Oh, yes, he can. He sure did. See JT pull it right back into the strike zone.
Here comes a 3-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. So Swanson thought he had walked. Instead, he strikes out. This one moves to the 7th. story of the first 6 innings of this game told through the expressions on the faces of the Marlins and the Braves. Some excitement, some frustration, some confusion even. 5-3 the score as we go to the 7th inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth, Jessica Blaylock. As Cameron Maben, who entered the game as part of a double switch, will lead things off. It's 9-1 and 2 due up for the Marlins. Derek Dietrich and Brian Anderson to follow. Second inning of work for Shane Carl. The help of a double play ball in the 6th inning. Just a 7-pitch frame.
Maben hitting .303 this month. 3 homers, 5 RBIs. Five for 14 over the last homestand.
Settled in nicely to a starting role for a couple of weeks. He's also been successful coming off the bench for the Marlins as he takes a look at a strike. A 2-1 pitch as Maben scorches one out to center field. That one's going to get down. And Ciarte gets it in, but Maben using the wheels to get a double to lead off the 7th inning.
Love it. Great job by Cameron Maben, 12th double of the season. Great swing, stays back. Watch the extension through the zone, head down, drives it into left center field. Now this is his read as he comes around first base. Kids always want to know who's in charge. Maben's in charge. Watch the read. Now the ball's in front of him as he comes around first base. He can decide if he's going to go or stop, even if he chooses to go halfway and go back to first. It's entirely his read.
Time for the Florida Lottery. Call to the bullpen. Jesse Biddle on his way in. We step aside. Cameron Maben. The new Monopoly jackpot scratch-offs from the Florida Lottery are a new spin on a classic. They're loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million, so unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. So into the ball game out of the pen, the lefty Jesse Biddle, his 34th game of the season. Very respectable 2.54 ERA. Opponents hitting .203 against him, and he will face Derek Dietrich again as the tying run here in inning number 7. Couple of walks, couple of runs scored tonight for Dietrich. Excuse me, swing. Nearly got Brian Anderson in the on-deck circle, 0-1. Faces a lefty in Biddle who's been hot recently. Last 24 appearances, a .225 ERA and a .177 batting average against.
Biddle's inherited 8 runners, 3 have scored.
Out to center field. Enough room for Inciarte. Tries to get ahead of steam behind the throw. Maben to third, and he will make it.
Please join us for Salute and Serve, presented by Ticked on August 6th, as we invite those who serve to join us for a ball game. Active and retired U.S. military personnel, veterans, firemen, police officers receive 2 complimentary tickets when showing their official service IDs at the center field entrance at Marlins Park. For more information, visit marlins.com/offers.
Brian Anderson digs in, got the scoring started tonight with a home run to dead center field off of Julio Teheran.
Great swing here. Got a fastball to his liking and just enough to get it out.
He's got the 2 RBIs tonight, hoping to add to it. 3rd in baseball at the start of the day with a .407 average with runners in scoring position. Maben the runner at 3rd. Infield back for the Braves. Right back to Biddle. He gets it to Camargo. Maben back and forth. Flowers with it. Anderson is at 2nd. And Maben finally tagged out in between 3rd and home. That's out number 2.
Now, ball back to the mound. Nice job by Maben staying in this rundown. He gave Brian Anderson every opportunity to get to second base. That's exactly what you're looking to do. He knows he's caught. Call this the pickle, right? You're trying to get as many throws as you can from the opposition. Maben stays in it just long enough so Anderson can get into scoring position.
I'll bring up JT Realmuto. Now, Biddle doesn't make that play. I think that's easily a base hit up the middle. But he did. And got the 2nd out of the inning. Seventh inning or later, JT Realmuto, a .326 hitter, 3 homers, 19 RBIs. That one is a laser beam foul. Everybody's all right down there. Applause.
Yeah, that was no blooper off the bat.
It was not. Not at all. Oh-2 pitch on the way. Chopper. Albies. And the inning is over. We head to the bottom of the 7th. 5-3. Back here at SunTrust Park. Thank you, guys. Paul Severino, Todd Hollingsworth, Jessica Blaylock. As this game moves to the last of the 7th, Eliezer Hernandez back out for his second inning of work. Of course, the last 48 games, we've talked about it quite a bit. They have played 4 games over 500 since June 5th. 4.5 runs per game, 43 home runs. And in fact, you look at the National League East since that day, only the first place Phillies are better, and only by a game. So the Marlins have been playing some good baseball, not just for a homestand or for a couple of series. We're talking about close to 2 months.
And I think that last ingredient really being the offense. I mean, look at the batting average, 257, most importantly, 4.5 runs per ball game. You've got a chance to do that. Of course, the pitching, I think the pitching has been there more than people really realize all season long. We talk about it all the time. 9th shutout yesterday.
Flaherty grounds out to first base for the first out here in the 7th. I mean, it's a situation where you really have to look at each individual game when it comes to the pitching, because, like you said, 2 hits yesterday against the Nationals, and yet there have been those other games where
there's been some bad ones in there. Certainly, we understand that, but I just on the whole, I mean, like I said, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I'll bring it up again. It's worth noting here in the month of July, of course, a winning record in the month, 9-2 when there's 3 earned runs or less, and that's happened an awful lot. Just even the 9-2 tells you, well, that's 11 times this month that's actually happened for the Marlins staff. So the ERA is a little bit more bloated, and it is because of those blow-up games.
Acuna out to right, and Anderson will make the play for out number 2. Again, we talked earlier about the identity of this team and its overall approach. A look at Brad Brock, who may get his first action as a Brave. They have an offense which, again, they'll be the first to tell you, is not going to knock your socks off when it comes to the power. But it's also one that's not going to go into extended slumps. I mean, I don't remember talking about, you know, a time this year that they've gone 6 games without a run. 4-pitch inning, not bad. Back time for T-Mobile, built for baseball. Out to St. Louis, top of the 5th inning in a scoreless game. Scoreless no longer. Nolan Arenado with a grand slam to dead center field off of Daniel Ponce de Leon. As Arenado goes deep, the Colorado Rockies continue to play unbelievable baseball. They entered the day winners of 19 of 24, scoring runs. They're pitching well. Over the course of that 24-game stretch, a Major League best 3.11 ERA. As the Braves and their fans get their first look at Brad Brock. Traded from the O's to the Braves. Makes his Atlanta debut. He'll face Justin Bour, Starlin Castro, and Martin Prado. Bour takes a called strike.
You see the numbers on the season for Brock. 4.85 ERA, those numbers with the Orioles. Four-seam fastball, changeup, and slider. There's that four-seamer about 60% of the time. You just saw a changeup. Shows 94, 95 miles an hour. Lefty's hitting 342. Righty's 272 against him. Now in 2016 he was an all-star. 2.05 ERA that season. 71 games for the Orioles. His ERA has gone up in 2 consecutive seasons. He's closed for the Orioles this year, 11 for 13. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him fill a variety of roles with this Braves ball club.
Ground ball to Freeman for the first out in the 8th.
To admit, Paul, I generally like moves like this. I know that they kind of are unheralded when you look at his ERA, or maybe you say, okay, well, he's not who he was 2 seasons ago. But having played in 12 years of Major League Baseball, obviously most of my career in the National League, a little bit in the American League, there is a bit of a bump you get when you switch leagues. There's no doubt about it, more so for the pitchers, and I think this is a good move for the Braves. Brock, he hasn't pitched in the National League in over 5 seasons, so everybody up and down the National League East is really going to see him for their first time, well, over the next month or so. Not to mention, I would reckon he's highly motivated. He'll be a free agent at the end of the season.
He also jumped a few games in the standings.
So that helps too.
From the Orioles.
Well, you got leverage. You got leverage there as well. That certainly factors into it.
Yeah. Outside to Castro. It's 2-0.
Now that has been the one thing that's been a little bit of a bugaboo for him this year. Command.
Right back up the middle and past the dive of Albies. So Starlin Castro with another multi-hit game. That'll bring the tying run to the plate here in the 8th.
Nice job by Starlin Castro. Gets himself into a hitter's count. Gets a hitter's pitch. Fastball right out over the plate. Drives it back through the box. Tying run comes to the plate. Form of Martin Prado.
You mentioned getting out of the American League. How about getting out of the American League East? The likes of the Yankees and the Red Sox, 2 teams that the Marlins will see in August. In Boston, the Yankees will come to Miami. As Javi Guerra loosens. Prado grounded out in the 1st, but a single in the 4th, a single in the 6th. Albies playing up the middle at double play depth, so a big hole on the right side with Freeman holding Castro on. 2 balls and a strike now to Martin. Brock delivers. This is low, 3-1. I barely got my thought out because the inning was so darn quick. But we talked about the approach of this Marlins offense. It's one that's in a way kind of slump proof. You know, they'll have some games. I mean, heck, the other night against Scherzer they struck out quite a bit, but it might have been more Scherzer than them. But they're just guys that have kind of put the bat on the ball a little bit. They're not going to slump too much. Again, they're not going to score 15 runs a night. We understand that, but they're also, generally speaking, pretty consistent as an offense. This one chopped to 3rd, bobbled, and unable to recover. Camargo thought about 2 by the time he got it back. He still may not have gotten a clean handle on it, and the Marlins have 2 on with 1 out.
Yeah, Starlin Castro got a great break, so put some pressure. Watch Starlin running hard all the way. A little bobble there, so no play at second. Martin 14 hustling out of the box, no play at first. I'll tell you one other thing they've done really well this month. Take advantage of the other team's mistakes. Let's see if they can't do it here in the 8th. And we showed you the fielding percentage over the last 48 ball games for a reason. The Marlins, quite classically, are very good defensively all the time. That's one thing that they certainly count on. Get the pitching in order. But what I'm sure you've picked up on as well, in the month of July, it seems like the opposition makes a little bit, a few more errors than the Marlins do.
Yeah.
Well, those opportunities the Marlins have cashed in a number of times. Able to really open it up yesterday, and the Daniel Murphy error, we're able to add another couple of runs. Turn that 3-0 ball game into a 5-0 ball game.
Oh, and 2 to Miguel Rojas. 0 for 3 tonight. Couple of fly balls, grounded into a double play in the 6th inning. Right back to the screen. Good pass at that one. 94 miles an hour from Brock. The other arm in the pen that they have added in the last few days, Johnny Venters, back here in Atlanta. What a story he's been. 3.5 Tommy John surgeries. Rolled to Freeman, gets to it, and get the out at second base. Prado is erased. Castro to third. And Miggy will be on first. Runners on the corners, 2 away.
Manage your dream team in franchise mode, plus get weekly stats, roster updates, and more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now. And more at RBIGame.com, rated E for everyone.
Pinch hitter for the Marlins, it's JT Riddle. And they had Venters going, the lefty. But it looks like Brock will face Riddle. Looking to get back on track offensively. Finished in 0 for 18 homestand, but a chance here to get some good vibes going on the road trip.
I mentioned the batting average against. Lefty's hitting .342 against Brock.
So with all that being said, you're surprised it's not Johnny Venters here?
Well, I am. That's what Johnny Venters does. In fact, that's actually a little bit more of what he is. He's kind of a lefty specialist. He's up, unless he's not ready. Certainly can't speak to that, but I was a little surprised to see Brock get this opportunity.
Ground ball up the middle, backhanded by Albies, throws across his body and gets riddled by a step. Marlins leave a pair in the 8th, trail at 5-3. three-game series tomorrow. The pregame show is on the air at 7. Marlins and Braves. Dan Straley, a seasoned veteran at this point in his career, but on the other side of the pitching matchup, it will be Kolby Allard, who makes his major league debut tomorrow, pitching to a 2.80 ERA in AAA, one of their many top prospects. Just a terrific farm system with the Atlanta Braves, and that's what made some of the moves, or the two moves that they made, even more interesting, is that they didn't give up any people. It was a lot of slot money and comp picks and all kinds of stuff like that, but nothing from the farm system from the Braves just yet as Javi Guerra takes over. I'm ready now. Yes.
You ready for you ready for a comparison?
Go ahead.
Well, talking to a few people about Allard today and got a comparison to a Hall of Famer, Tom Glavine.
Wow.
That's some pretty high praise for a guy who hasn't thrown a pitch, but I'll tell you what,
I would say so.
His numbers in the minor leagues back it up. He's been good.
Freeman out to left. Coming in is Dietrich for the first out. The Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. Well, since June 25th, the Marlins, 21 of the last 28 games have been at home. Overall, 14-14, and they will be on the road quite a bit for the course of the next 3 weeks or so. 13 of the next 19 on the road. This is a 7-game road trip, the 3 here in Atlanta, and then it's off to Philadelphia for a 4-game set. Home for the Cardinals and the Mets, and then back to Atlanta and Washington. So a lot of National League East in the last 2 months of the season.
Markakis 0 for 3 tonight. Comes into tonight's ball game having reached in 16 consecutive ball games. 391 on base percentage. Is on the line here. As I said, 0 for 3.
What was the number up to?
16.
I mean, that's Minter in the bullpen. No, that's a poor job on my part. I didn't finish my thought. He had a hit streak when these two teams played Miami. I think it was 11 or 12 game hit streak. Marlins snapped that, but he's been able to continue to get on base.
Well, that's the impressive part. You know, his batting average just over 300 during the 16 games, but the on base percentage up near 400. That's what he does. 11th home run yesterday, 32nd double.
This one chopped to the right side. Bohr with the flip to Guerra, and there are 2 away in the 8th. We'll hear from Don Mattingly on the WB Mason Marlins Live postgame show. Full house. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, and Gabby Sanchez in studio. Hopefully it'll be about a 9th inning rally against the Atlanta Braves. Gotten 2 outs on 7 pitches. He'll face Tyler Flowers here. When the Marlins come to the plate in the 9th inning, they will have Maben, Dietrich, and Anderson due up. Right side and into the seats. 0-1. So Maben, Dietrich, Anderson against Minter.
Nice breaking ball by Guerra. Working quick. Little quick outs. Flowers on base all 3 times tonight. Couple of walks, a base hit. Came in the 6th.
And he's affected the game in other ways.
Cheater. I'm just kidding.
That's one way to put it, I suppose.
Well, he's stealing strikes. I mean,
I'm with you.
the only other person that might appreciate it maybe is JT, but of course JT has to hit too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We watched him do it all night long. Pull balls outside that strike zone into the strike zone.
Well, you know what?
I'm sorry. How do we not laugh?
I don't know. I mean, that was a little but you kind of got a few all night long, right? Come on. 5-3 to the ninth. Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Lincoln. Join the Lincoln Summer Invitation Sales Event. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Tight ball game here in Atlanta. 5-3 going to the ninth. A.J. Minter to pitch. 9-1-2 due up for the Marlins. Hoping for a comeback tonight. To catch the Braves. The Bonefish Grill fresh catch of the day. The pail chasing the drill, but then the oh man,
the clothesline.
Oh,
take that.
Jeez. You know, I've never trusted the hammer or the paintbrush, not once.
Most people say they don't trust the pail or the bucket.
Well, the pail's a jerk too, but especially those two.
That was absolutely fantastic.
What did drill ever do to you? Ridiculous.
Well, you know what they did? They drilled him.
You set him up and you knock him down, pal.
Right. Speaking of knocking him down, A.J. Minter into the ball game. His 46th of the season, 3.05 ERA. The Marlins are looking to do something tonight that has not been done in Minter's career. He has never blown a lead. 16 for 16 in hold chances, 5 for 5 in saves. Has 22 games, 26 strikeouts, only 2 walks. We're seeing fastball in the slider. Slider sits at 92-93. The four-seam fastball, upper 90s, 97-98 miles an hour.
Maben with a double in the 7th. And he is called out on strikes. It's about where Flowers was frustrated that his called strike 3 was, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Here's Dietrich. 0-1. A walk and a run scored in the first, a walk and a run scored in the fifth. I'm going to throw this out there, even though sometimes I whiff on these things. Minter from the left side reminds me of Kimbrell from the right side. From right about there to right about there. And Dietrich right about there. A one-out base hit will bring the tying run to the plate.
Nice job by Double D getting it done. It's only the fourth hit Minter has allowed to a left-handed batter this season.
Well, the Marlins have the bats that they'd want at the plate after the Dietrich base hit. Anderson with a two-run home run in the first inning. And then JT Realmuto on deck. Justin Bohr would be after that. Then Starlin Castro. Right side, foul. Unbelievable how the numbers jump for Anderson when the stakes are a little higher. Of course, he entered the day third in baseball with batting average with runners in scoring position, but just runners on base anywhere. His numbers go way up.
Well, he doesn't really sweat the situation, if you know what I mean. Most young hitters, you know, you get into that situation, your heart rate goes up. It seems like his goes down. You know what I mean? Ideally, you see the approach. He chokes up a little bit, kind of lets the ball travel. He's not afraid to get jammed or stay inside the baseball. That's how you hit above 400 with runners in scoring position.
Right back to the screen, 97 from Minter.
Minter's given up one home run this season. It's to a right-handed batter.
One-two pitch coming. Got him to chase. Nasty pitch. Second out of the inning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. 94-mile-an-hour slider. Hard and late movement there. Anderson looking to just defend, hoping to foul it off. Too much horizontal movement across the back edge of the strike zone.
Last hope for the Marlins, JT Realmuto. Runner goes, not held on. Defensive indifference will get Dietrich to second base. An RBI double tonight for Realmuto back in the fifth inning. To third, Camargo with it, and the Braves take the opener here in Atlanta. They hold off the Marlins by a final count of 5-3. Braves entered the day game and a half back in the Philadelphia Phillies, who were tied in the 11th inning in Boston with the Red Sox. So as they congratulate themselves, they'll flip on the TVs in the clubhouse and see if they can make up any ground on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Coors Light refreshing finish. He's done it again. A.J. Minter gets the strikeout of Maben. And then after that, he got Anderson and Realmuto on the ground out. That's how this one ends, as the Braves win again against the Marlins. 5-3 the final score from SunTrust Park. For Todd Hollinsworth, Jessica Blaylock, I'm Paul Severino. Thanks so much for watching Marlins Live post-game show on the other side of the break.